Let's pray first, and then we'll get started. Father in heaven, thank you for bringing us here this morning. Thank you for the opportunities that are going to come because of it. Thank you for the opportunities that we have through every day in our lives. Opportunities to live out our lives and portray you to a lost and dying world. Father, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to study this morning. We pray that you help us to learn and grow, and we thank you that we have an opportunity to worship together as a family. I pray your blessings upon us as we do that. That you will guide us in our worship and guide us in our study this morning. And it's in the name of your Son we pray. Amen. Okay. The book of Judges is written in a time when they have the nation of Israel has been told to go into the promised land, go eradicate people. They have not done that. You find at the time of Gideon, you find the nation of Israel is living predominantly between some foreign people, the Philistines primarily, and what starts this thing with Gideon is because of the Midianites, and we'll look at that a little bit more in a minute. But they have not done what they were told to do. In fact, there's a couple of phrases that will come up throughout this book of Judges. We're going to see one of the phrases come up a couple of times, but it says that they did evil in the eyes of God. They decided not to do what God said to do. God told them what to do, and they decided not to. And then another one is that everyone did as he saw fit. They just pretty much decided what they wanted to do, and everybody just did whatever they wanted to do. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's what happens in the book of Judges. And what happens is they go off chart, they go down a hill spiritually, and then they start screaming to God. They start crying out to God. And God tells them numerous times, said, I told you what to do. You chose. But then when the misery gets so bad, he raises up a judge. Most of the time, they're very reluctant. You're going to see that with Gideon. They're very reluctant. They don't want to really do this. But he helps them, and and I wrote a note down here. It says, God will provide all that they need, and that every time you see one of these judges, God is going to provide for them, and God's going to provide the resources they need. And God does the same thing for us today. The reason I wanted to study this guy is because I think in many instances he's a lot like some of us are. He's reluctant, doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to go, doesn't believe he's fit, doesn't believe he's capable, and God has to reassure him. When he raises up these judges and to deal with these unconquered nations that they should see, what they did is they went into the promised land and they ran like a blitzkrieg all the way through it and didn't do what God told them. God told them to eliminate everybody, kill it all. Get rid of it. And they did not do that. And so what they did is they started adopting the practices of some of the people they left behind. They started worshiping their God. They started worshiping the way they worship. They started intermarrying with them. And it was a recipe. God told them, can't do it. Don't do this. Don't do this. They did it anyway. Come on in, guys. So we're going to look at Judges chapter 6. Now, chapter 6 got a lot of stuff in it. And for me to get through with this in 2 weeks, we can't read it all. So I'm just going to do some highlights of some of these things. But I need to read this first part because you need to know what's going on. Well, chapter 6, verse 1 through 6 is God's telling us what's happening here. Okay? Now, look at what it says. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. There's that phrase. You're going to see this permeate all through the book of Judges. They did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites. Okay? So what they would do is the Midianites would come, so oppressive, and they would come in, bring all their herds, all their stuff, and they would decimate their crops, just decimate the land. So where the Israelites had to go and hide in caves and stuff, and there was nothing left. And so verse 4, they camped on the land and ruined the crops all the way to Gaza and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep nor cattle nor donkeys. They took everything. Kind of what happened during the time of Job. You remember? During the time they came in and just swooped in and took out everything. Now, they came up with their livestock and their tents like swarms of locusts. It was impossible to count them or the camels. They invaded the land and ravaged it. Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord for help. When they cried out to the Lord because of Midian, he sent them a prophet. Okay? He sends them a prophet. Probably Samuel. So he sends them. And he tells them, this is what God's done for you. This is what he's done. All this time, he's done it all through this history. And if you go to verse 10, it says, I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not worship the God of the Amorites in whose land you live. But you have not listened to me. So what they're going through, we're in Judges chapter 6. So what they're going through is exactly what God told them would happen if you don't do what I tell you to do. Okay? Kind of same today. Don't do what God says. Your life's in your own hands. You're gonna reap what you sow. So God sends this prophet to them, and then he's gonna raise up someone. All right. Here comes Gideon. Look at verse 11. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Okay? Now, set the scene for this, all right? Here's Gideon. You're going to see in a minute. He believes he's a no good. He's not worthy of any of this stuff. That's what he believes. And the angel of the Lord comes. This is God. Probably in the pre-incarnate form of Christ. That's probably who it is. But it's God. At first, he doesn't recognize him that way. At first. But when he will get along in this chapter, he's going to realize it, and he's going to fall down and worship, okay, and want to offer to him. But this guy comes and says, and he greets him and says, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Now, have you ever had God come to you through the word or whatever, and ask you to do a task, some kind of a task that you didn't feel qualified for? That you didn't feel like that you were good enough for. That you really, maybe it'd be better if somebody else did this. What kind of issues do you bring up to yourself when you feel like that? Are there issues that you bring up and say, well, it's because of this, because of that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not popular enough. What was the issues you might have brought up to yourself to talk to yourself and say, maybe God, you ought to get somebody else. I'm no good at this. Yeah, David.
You might think that you don't want to be a failure.
Okay. Don't want to be a failure.
I think that might be one of the biggest reasons
okay.
I don't do things.
All right. He is going to tell the people later on, I'm not ruling you. My sons aren't going to rule you. God's going to rule you. Don't put me up as a king or anything, because I'm not doing it. That's later on. That's where he's going to get to later on. But yeah, there's probably is a lot. Well, there's fear in him, first off here, because he's hiding at this point, remember, from who's there. The Midianites are there. They're stealing everything. And if they're going to survive, they have to steal, they have to hide, they have to... You understand what... I want to set the dynamic for you. And what's going on here with this guy? Young man, he's the youngest in the family, and he's approached by God. Wouldn't recognize him as that way, but he's approached and said, God bless you, mighty warrior. Now, if you believe you're not anywhere near a mighty warrior, what would you think? I remember when I had to go to Fort Trent, preach. And I was under the assumption that I was preaching 1 month, and I was done. And Richard Rendon came to me and he said, no, I think they're expecting you to come every month. And I said, what? No, I can't do that. Man, I can't. And I had all those excuses. So I called one of the elders and talked to his wife, Bernice Carroll. And I said, Bernice, it's come to my attention, y'all may be expecting me to come every month. Is that true? Oh, yeah. We love you. Yeah, we want you to. What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to handle this? I went. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the worst part about having any kind of talent is that we usually underestimate ourselves. And in fact, when we do receive praise for those things, it's like, I'm not that good.
Yeah.
Right? It's really hard to just be like,
yeah,
okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
because we look at all of our flaws.
Yeah. You know, I know as I started preparing sermons to do that every month, I had to go every month, and not just once, you had to go twice. You went in the morning, went in the evening. And it was extremely challenging to do. And I would go, and it was obvious that the things that I was teaching, I didn't have a wealth of information. That was 25 years ago that I started. And it was obvious as I look back on it now that God had showed up, was inspiring me with things that I needed to talk about, inspiring me with things that I needed to say. And it worked. And as I was reading it, I'm saying, I've been here. Yeah. I've been in this place. I've been where this guy is. And, we came to people that to consider the idea that they might be an elder at this church. Let me tell you something. That's a spooky thought, man, when you first get presented with it. Isn't it, guys? I'm not going to look at any of you. I'm just saying, isn't it, guys? It's a scary thought. Wasn't it, Bobby?
I was fixing to say, are you preaching to me?
No. Because there's decisions that have to be made, and you're always going to look in the mirror and say, I can't do this. This is not who I am. I'm not any good at this. Well, that's where he's been confronted right here. You're a mighty warrior. Think about him. Can look at himself. Look at what he's doing. Look at what he said. Pardon me, my Lord. Now that Lord there is a different word. It's like, pardon me, sir. What he says. But if the Lord is with us, and that's the Yahweh part right there. If God's really with us, where are all His wonders that are? That's not what the angel Lord said. What did the angel Lord say? You're a mighty warrior. He ain't talking about the rest of that. What is he? He said, but if the Lord is with us, that's not what he said. Why has all this happened to us? Where are all His wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. Okay? So you see, he doesn't have all the information right. Right? Understand? Yeah. He doesn't have all the information right. Now, look at what he said. He said, the Lord turned to him. Now, that's Yahweh. That's Jehovah. The Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? If I'm sending you, if I'm going to be one who sends you, and I'm sending you, I'm talking to you right here. I've called you a mighty warrior. That means you are one. I'm going to make you into one, and I'm going to send you. If God sends you to do something, okay, I guess what you have to ask yourself, is God really sending me or not? And it was very difficult for me to wrap my head around that when I started going to Fortran. Is God really want me to do this? Is this really what I'm supposed to do? I got 3 boys at home, and my Sundays are going to be, on that week, going to be toast. And as that went along, and I had conversations with her, and we decided as a team, she's going to stay at home. She's not going, and we're going to go. I'm going to go by myself. And that was. But it was obvious later on, looking back now, I watch now, and now my son has taken over, and now he's doing it. So it was obvious that God was in the middle of this. So when you look at this, and he said, I'm sending you, you're going to go, because I'm going to send you. Now, look at what he said. Pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied. Hold on. Pardon me. Wait a minute. I need to correct you on something. Okay? Can you just see him? Wait. Talking to God. Wait a minute.
Like, excuse me?
Yeah, excuse me? Does this not sound familiar? Does not sound familiar what we do? Look what he said. But how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. Okay? Now, what did he just say? Tell me what he just said. What was the excuse he uses?
I'm a nobody.
I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. Who am I? I can't do. My family's nobody. We ain't nobody. What? I look at it and I say, man, I'm the runt of my family, and I got it written down here. The runt. That's how he feels. I feel like I'm the runt of my family. What happens with a runt in a litter? What happens with them? John, you raise cows. What will a cow do if she has twins and one of them is not as good as the other? What will she do? She'll abandon it. A deer will do the same thing. They'll abandon one of them. And that's how he feels. He feels like a runt. You ever felt like you were a nobody? You ever felt like that?
All my life.
One person?
I'm shaking my head.
You're shaking your head? Many of us at one time or another feel like nobody. Bullies in school will do that to us. Family members will do that to us. Sometimes leadership in whatever will do that to you. It'll make you feel like that you're a nobody, that you're not qualified to do anything, that you're not capable of doing anything. That's why I wanted to do this, because I know that human beings, we are all told at some point that I don't have the ability or the talent. And it may be we tell ourselves or somebody else tells us to our face. It's really difficult when somebody tells you to your face that you have no talent, you're no good.
I found out years ago that when we doubt and when we make excuses, that brings a lot of that on us. We do it to ourselves.
So we start to believe it.
Yeah.
We start to become reality to us. If you start telling yourself that, you start to believe it, right?
Believe it.
And also, when somebody's patting you on the back all the time, what do? You start to believe it. You start to believe you're better than what you really are, right? You can do that. I remember Richard Rendon telling me, he said, I don't know exactly how he said it, but the only one that thinks you're that good is you. Who qualified it for me one day was her. Because I asked her. I don't think she won't acknowledge that she said it, but I remember her saying it. I was driving back and forth trying with her, and I said, "Well, what'd you think about the sermon?" She said, "Well, I don't think it was as good as you think it was." Y'all are laughing, but I needed to hear that more than anything. She said exactly the right thing at the right time, because I was getting full of myself. I was losing sight of that I don't have the ability and I need God's help. Gideon's going to figure out that he needs God's help, and he's going to take God's help, and God's going to be very specific and very dramatic, so that everybody will know, even us today, thousands of years later, will know that God took over and God did it. Okay, let's move on. All right, we got it so far. You got the scene set. The Midianites are trashing them. God's come there and said, Gideon, I got something for you to do, and you're going to be great. You're going to be awesome. Oh, no. You don't understand. I can't do this. I'm no good. I can't do this. Now, the Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Now, what did it say about them early on? What did it say when they came to the land? What did it say that they were like? What did it say? You remember? They were so numerous they looked like locusts. Mm-hmm. Okay? Got it? Now, Gideon replied. Now he wants proof. He wants proof now. Gideon replied, now I have found favor in your eyes. Give me a sign that it really is you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you. He's starting to soften a bit. He's starting to say, okay, I need proof. I want to make an offering, so I'm going to go bring something. So and the Lord said, I'll wait until you return. Gideon went out inside, prepared a young goat, and from an ephah of flour he made bread without yeast, putting the meat in a basket and his broth in a pot. He brought them out and offered them to him under the yoke. Okay, Gideon brings his offering. If it's really God, and people sometimes we put money in the plate, say, well, if God's really real, I heard that He'll really bless me, so I'm going to cover all my things. I'll put some money in the plate. Okay, just in case. I think that's what Gideon's doing here. But let's see. The angel of God said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened bread, place them on this rock, and pour out the broth." And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord touched the meat and the unleavened bread with the tip of the staff that was in his hand. Fire flared from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread, and the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, "Alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." What just happened? This is real. This is real. I am really, really standing in the place of God. Now it starts to come together for him. All right? Now, so Gideon, no, but the Lord said to him, "Peace, do not be afraid, you are not going to die." So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it, "The Lord is Peace." That's Yahweh Shalom. Okay, it's one of the names for God, God of peace. To this day it stands in Ophrah in the Abiezrites. That same night, the Lord said to him, take the second bull from your father's herd, the one 7 years old. Okay? Youch. Okay? Y'all got this. Y'all hear what's coming. Okay? Some of y'all know this story, but he's told by God, go get your father's bull. Okay? John, how many bulls do you have on your plate? One? You have one. His dad's got two.
He's got more cows.
He got more cows. He said, go get the second one. Don't get the best one, go get the second one. All right? Now look what happens. Take the second bull from your father's herd, the one 7 years old. Tear down your now is that old, John? A 7-year-old bull?
That's prime.
That's prime.
There you go.
That's prime. I got two guys over here conferring with each other. If you wonder what's going on, they're trying to decide if that's prime or not.
He's
Well,
cow
most of the time, my bulls, usually about 9 years old, they lose their teeth.
They-
And then they start slimming down and they don't perform as well.
okay, so about 7 years they're prime.
Well, I think so.
So there's a prime bull.
Alan thinks it's too old, but
Okay, well
Alan's too old.
I'll go with you. Alan sees everything from an older perspective. Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. So we've got a old bull in his prime. Is that what you're saying? Or no? JG, you know cows, man. I'm gonna bring an arbiter in here. Is this old prime? What is this?
We don't keep.
He's old. You're outvoted, man. He's old. All right. So he doesn't have to get the best one. He gets the old one. Old junky one. All right. Kind of like us, right, John? The old junky one. So he said, tear down your father's altar to Baal and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Now, I got to stop here. You understand the climate that this kid lives in. All right? He's got an altar. His dad's got an altar to Baal and an Asherah pole next to it. So what has his family done? Adopted the religion of the people around them. Okay? Why he picks Gideon? I don't know. Maybe Gideon's the only one in there that's not twisted and torn between that. But his dad does has been worshiping this god and goddess. Now, then build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God on the top of this height, using the wood of the Asherah pole that you cut down. Offer the second bull as a burnt offering. Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord told him, but because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople, he did it at night rather than the daytime. So you see the problem here? His dad's going to get hacked, and the townspeople are not going to be happy. So evidently, this is an altar next to his family that everybody uses. All right? And he says you tear it down and build a proper altar. Okay? Now, said. In the morning, when the people of the town got up, there was Baal's altar demolished, with the Asherah pole beside it cut down, and the second bull sacrificed on the newly built altar. They asked each other, who did this? Who did this? When they carefully investigated, they were told Gideon, son of Joash, did it. The people of the town demanded of Joash, bring out your son, he must die, because he has broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. He has every reason to be afraid, doesn't he? Right? You know? God asks you to do something, and you decide I'm going to do it no matter what the consequences, and you do it, and your family turns on you. Did you have every reason to be afraid? Because they can say some hateful, mean, and ugly things. They can isolate themselves from you. They can alienate you. You know, you can lose your job. You can lose your livelihood because of the stand you take, because that God asked you to take on. You know, and he said, I got this. I'll take care of you. Now, look at what else happens. The people of the town demand of Joash, bring your son, he must die, because he has broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. But Joash replied, and listen to his father. But Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, are you going to plead Baal's cause? Are you trying to save him? Whoever fights for him shall be put to death by morning. If Baal really is God, he can defend himself when someone breaks down his altar. So because Gideon broke down Baal's altar, they gave him the name Jerubbaal that day, saying, let Baal contend with him. Now all the Midianites, the Amalekites, and other Eastern... I'm going to stop right there. So, anything jump out at you here? Yeah, John?
Well, they're whining about the Midianites coming in and beating them up all the time.
Uh-huh.
So now they got somebody that's going to stand up to them. The first battle he's got to fight is his own people.
Yeah. But what they don't know is they don't know that God's gotten him.
That's exactly.
That He's gotten him to take care of the Midianites. They don't know that yet. Okay? They will know it, but they don't know it yet. And yeah, you're right. What's the first battle he has to fight?
His own people.
His own people.
Your own people.
What's the battle that's going to be the hardest to fight many times? Your own
Your
family.
own people.
Your own people.
Yes, sir.
Your own people. That's going to be the hardest battle sometimes to fight. You know, easy to go do what God says to do. It's the people that are going to be negative in your life that's harder than fighting the battle. You know, I didn't have family here, so I didn't have to deal with that when God called me to go here or called me to do this or whatever. I didn't have that problem. But I know some of you have had that problem. You've had a problem with family members that have turned on you, or job people that demanded of you to not do what you're doing. So, but anyway, let's move on. Okay? Now, verse 33. Now all the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples joined forces and crossed over the Jordan and camped in the valley of Jezreel. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, summoning the Abiezrites to follow him. He sent messengers throughout Manasseh, calling them to arms, and also into Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, so that they too went up to meet them. Gideon said to God, "If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have promised," all right, I want one more sign. One more. If you're really going to do this, look, I will place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you have saved Israel by my hand, as you said. And that is what happened. Gideon rose early the next day. He squeezed the fleece and wrung out the dew, a bowl full of water. Then Gideon said to God, "Don't be angry with me. One more. I need one more." Does this sound like us?
Yeah.
Does it?
That's doubt right there.
Sounds just like it. Well, I'm pretty sure,
There's a lot of doubt.
but I really need another sign. So he said, "Don't be angry with me. Let me make just one more request. Allow me one more test with the fleece. But this time, make the fleece dry and let the ground be covered with dew." So that night, God did so. Only the fleece was dry. All the ground was covered with dew. Okay? Tell me what you think so far about this guy.
I think Gideon said, "Shoot, I wish that fleece."
I wish that fleece would have been. I wish it wouldn't have been so. But and isn't that how we are? I wish anything else would happen but this. If it's just this, not this. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have to do this. But God calls us to things that He knows that we can deal with, because He's going to help us deal with them. He's not going to ask us to do them by ourselves. Yes, sir.
I think what's interesting about this is that he already knows God's real.
Yeah, He does. Yep.
He already knows God's real. He already knows what God told him to do. Mm-hmm. This is self-doubt.
Did y'all hear that? This is self-doubt.
It is.
This has nothing to do with God. Mm. This is looking for a way for God to let him go.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't believe he can do it.
Yeah. Did y'all hear that?
He's trying to run like Jonah.
I think
he's trying to run like Jonah. He's trying to run like Jonah.
I think the biggest thing that we have to deal with many times in a situation like this is ourselves. I think it's ourselves. That, am I going to do this the right way? Can I do it the right way? Can I make God happy with me and pleased with me? And why in the world would He call me anyway? Because I'm nobody. I see people stepping up and doing things, and I'm thinking, probably nobody in their life ever thought they could do this. If they would ever get to that point. I know the conflicts that Mark and I've had in our lives. I know them. All right. I know how difficult it was. I know how challenging it was, and to see where he is now, and to know that God had a hand in this. And God was all over this. I mean, it's amazing. I didn't have the same problem with Paul. Paul was a good kid. He was. He hardly ever a problem. There wasn't any problems, was it?
Of course he's going to say
He was
that.
about to pat you on the back.
My wife's side went, what? No.
I caused
Your
you
dad
lots of
is
problems.
saying
Huh?
that because
I said I caused
you're gonna-
Yes, you did. You caused me lots of problems with her. That you did. But it wasn't that antagonism, that blatantness, that kind of, it wasn't that way. and I see God all over. I see some of your kids, and I've talked to some of your kids, some of your older kids, and I see great things coming from them. That they've had to weed through this stuff. They've had to do the Gideon stuff. They've had to look at it and say, God, I just don't think so. I don't think I can do that. And sometimes they needed God to show up in somebody else. I just had that opportunity the other day with somebody, and they needed God. That person needs God to show up in a different way with somebody else, somebody that's going to say different than what they've been told before. And I think that's where, sometimes that's what we have to be willing to do. Let God use you. Don't look at him and say, I'm no good, you don't know what you're doing. Let him use you for powerful stuff. Let him use you for godly stuff. Let him use you, and don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Let him use you so that your kids have an example that you can set, and let him use you to do things that you never dreamed were possible. If God's involved, they are possible. I'm telling you, they are. I've seen it too many times. Yes, ma'am.
When you do let him use you, let him enable you to do what he's telling you to do.
Yeah.
It is a tremendous faith builder.
You're absolutely right, Nancy. I mean, it is a tremendous faith builder because you really know in that situation, I can't do this by myself. And when you accomplish it, and you go to Fortran, and people say, "Wow, you're amazing, you're awesome," and you go, "Who are they talking about? It's not me. I don't even want to do this." I had somebody tell me the other day. I said, I can't stand to preach. I hate preaching. I hate to preach. I'd rather somebody beat me with a stick than preach. I hate doing it. I love doing this. And that guy said, I don't know why you're so good at it. I said, man, please don't say that, because that means I can't stop. Because that means God's involved, not me. That means until he says you're done, I can't be done. I don't want to do that. But you know what? You do it anyway because it builds faith. Every time I get up there, it makes me stronger in my faith because I know it wasn't me, it was God. Whatever he had to say, he's saying, and sometimes I'm going, are you kidding me, God? You want to say, that's what you want to say? But, and I see us working through those issues. Man, we all got issues, guys. We ain't none of us all that. All of us got some Gideon in us. And we need God's help to unravel that stuff, to sort it out and say, you know what? And one of my questions, when are you going to realize that God's really real? When are you going to realize that he's just showed up in your life? How many tests are you going to want to give him before you finally say, you know what? I give up. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'll do it. I'll go. I went on that highway out, and before it was a 4-lane. You know how many times I almost got killed on the highway? Well, I was there one day, and y'all got called out. I was there fixing to preach, and all the guys, poof, they were gone because they're all with the volunteer fire department. They were gone. It was a super bad wreck on the highway. People died. It was horrible. Alan told me about something. But God said, I got you. I got this. And he protected me. I believe that. I was even there through all the construction, going back and forth through the construction, and God always had my back. Always. I made it through that. Yes, ma'am.
It permeates our entire life.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've gotten a job and I thought, I'm not trained to do this. How am I going to manage?
Yeah. And you do it.
I do it.
And you do it. And it works. And you go, wow, man, I know that. And that's when God gets the glory. Gideon's going to give him the glory in the next chapter. When he gets there, he's going to give him the glory. What I wanted you to see in this class is that Gideon is like us. All right, he's like us. The Midianites have encamped in your front yard. Okay, with you it's a sickness. Okay, and it's they can camp there, and we can let Satan use that stuff, or we can let God use it. We can let God use it for glory, or Satan use it for destruction. He may have showed up in your life and in your life and family matters and stuff that are going on. Hey, God's bigger than all of that. He's bigger than cancer. He's bigger than family issues. He's bigger than some knucklehead saying something to you that don't have a clue what they're talking about. Amen. He's bigger than that. He's proven to Gideon. Gideon needs some answers. He needs some tests. I understand that. So do I. Man, it was 2 years in, and I'm still asking, are you sure you really want to do this? When I ask that? Every third Sunday. or every third Saturday. That's when I'm pouring over stuff trying to get a sermon together. And I'm going, you really want me to do this? I don't want to do this. Show me, give me a sign. And I was getting ready to go one day, and I was not comfortable with what I put together. And I had to go. I was going to go to Fortran, and I said, God, you have got to fix this, because this stinks. This is awful. This isn't going to work. I never did preach that sermon. And I was just praying, and all of a sudden, boom, a scripture came in my head. Didn't have no prayer. I'm 10 minutes from leaving. Didn't have no time. And I went over there, and it was probably the best sermon I've ever preached in my life. I can still remember details of it. It was the best sermon because it was not me that did it. It was him. Because I didn't have any time to put anything together. And I'm going, wow. And right then I said, you know what? I give up. I give up. You just turn the fleece wet and turn it dry. I give up. Do with me whatever you want. Show me where you're going to take me. Show me where it's going to go. And then I started to see my son, and it started to elevate. And I said, okay, here we go. And then he came to me and said, I want to take over. Great. That's God involved in our stuff. When you look back and you say, God took care of it. He called me. I didn't think I was capable. I didn't think I was able. And God took care of it. And sometimes he's going to show up in the form of a child, of one of your kids. Maybe one of your daughter or your son is going to show up, and he's going to say something profound to you. And you're going to say, okay, got it. And you're going to know that your life needs to make a drastic turn because God just showed up. And he showed up in the form of a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old, or an 18-year-old who says, I'm done with you. I'm leaving. I'm going in the military. And he left. Went in the Navy. Worked out okay, didn't it? Didn't it seem like it worked out okay? Yeah. Seemed like it worked out okay. You know where he's at this morning? Preaching for Glenn this morning because Glenn needs to be gone this week. So he's preaching for Glenn, and then they're getting in the car and they're driving to Tennessee after he gets through this evening. They're driving to Tennessee because he's got a class he's got to go to for his work. So he's going to a school in Tennessee, and that's where they're going. So please be praying for them because he doesn't do well driving long. Ann's really better at it than he is. So just be praying for them, okay? Anyway, we're going to look at chapter 7 and finish up chapter 8. I want you to see it. We're going to go through it quick. I'm going to get through with it. And I just wanted you to see how similar we are to this young man and how many solutions we come up with just like he does, okay? We'll review it next week, and we'll start with chapter 7. Thank you, guys.